A man wakes up in a hotel room in Manila, disoriented. He reflects on how his life has not turned out as he once imagined. He has a flashback to the previous night, where a woman asks him to dance. He recalls feeling like a stranger to himself even before the night began. The memory continues with a violent confrontation outside a club. He remembers the woman watching him as he fought. After the fight, she approaches him to see if he's alright. She then offers to buy him a drink. Back in the present, he seeks refuge in a church, speaking with a priest. He confesses his overwhelming fear to the priest. The priest offers words of comfort, but the man feels his own strength is failing. Desperate, he makes a phone call to an old friend. He identifies himself as Deacon and says he's in the city and needs help. His friend, Kung, promises his help without question. Deacon tells him he's at the Golden Tree Hotel, room 413. Before hanging up, he asks Kung to bring him morphine. He looks at a medical guide for kidney transplant patients. Kung arrives at the hotel room, greeting his old friend, Deacon. Kung is horrified when Deacon lifts his shirt, revealing a large, fresh scar. He realizes Deacon's kidney has been surgically removed. Suddenly, another man bursts into the room, surprising them. Deacon identifies the man as his brother and urgently tells him to go home. His brother argues, saying an important event is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. The brother is distraught, realizing something terrible has happened. Kung tells Deacon they need to leave immediately, as there's no time to call a doctor. He gives Deacon the morphine he requested. Kung asks about the woman involved, and Deacon describes her as English or Irish. Deacon explains he met her on the street and they went to a club called Vortex. Despite Kung's advice to let it go, Deacon is determined. He declares, "It's mine. I want it back." Deacon's brother, George, insists this is his problem too. George reminds Deacon he's a university professor, questioning what he can possibly do. Deacon reveals they have less than 10 hours before the kidney is lost for good. As they prepare to leave, George questions why Deacon is taking a Bible. Deacon cryptically replies, "Inspiration." They arrive at the Vortex Club, where Deacon confronts a bartender named Beth. He asks her if she remembers him being there with a girl named Anna. Deacon threatens the bartender with the Bible, demanding to know who set him up. A bouncer intervenes, telling Deacon it's time to leave. Deacon retorts that the bartender understands him, just before a brawl breaks out. Deacon and George fight their way through the club's security. During the chaos, George finds a man dead on the floor. Deacon corners the bartender again, telling her he warned her. He gives her a final chance to tell him where his kidney is. Terrified, she finally gives in, begging for forgiveness. She reveals the woman's full name, Anna Riley. She says Anna was going to a fight club to meet her pimp, Zahn. She also mentions another man who paid her, whom Anna called Drake. George questions the necessity of Deacon's violent methods. Deacon coldly replies that the Bible has seen plenty of bloodshed. George wakes up in a hospital bed, where Kung is watching over him. Kung explains they are at St. Angela Hospital, and his presence is off the record. Kung reveals that he and Deacon first met professionally, on opposite sides. George admits he doesn't know what his brother does for a living, only that he was in the French Special Forces. Kung explains Deacon's specialty, KNR, kidnap and ransom. Deacon appears, ready to leave despite his condition and Kung's protests. Kung informs them that the hotel security footage from that night has been erased. However, using traffic cameras, he was able to track Deacon and the girl. He shows them a picture of the woman, Anna Riley. He also has a picture of the man who followed them, whom Deacon identifies as Drake. George doesn't understand the urgency, but Deacon tells Kung to reveal the truth. George shows Kung a photo of his 9-year-old daughter, Isabella. He explains she has a kidney disease and is in chronic renal failure. Deacon's stolen kidney was meant for Isabella's transplant in 2 days. Without the transplant, she only has about 3 months to live. Kung, understanding the stakes, says this changes everything and begins making calls. While Kung meets a contact, Deacon spots someone watching them. Kung calls George, realizing they've been followed and his contact is compromised. He instructs George to get in the driver's seat and start the car. Kung points out a dark blue sedan across the square. He tells George to drive slowly and pull up right next to it. As they pull up, Deacon ambushes the men in the other car. A car chase ensues through the crowded streets of Manila. Frustrated with George's driving, Deacon takes the wheel. Deacon attempts to squeeze the car through a narrow alleyway. They get stuck, allowing the other car to escape. Later, Kung reports that he has located the underground fights in a shipyard. As they drive, Kung questions George's faith, suggesting God must hate them. George believes God is not to blame, and if anyone is, it's himself. They arrive at the shipyard, a grim place where the rich bet on the poor. Kung points out that the security are either triad members or undercover cops. Inside the chaotic fight club, George spots their target, Drake. Kung gives George a gun for protection and tells him to keep trying to call Deacon. Deacon finds Anna, who apologizes and says she was hired by Drake. She explains she only did it for the money to buy her way out of her life. Her pimp, Zahn, arrives, questioning who Deacon is. Suddenly, Kung appears, having used GPS to track Deacon's phone. Drake enters, revealing the entire meeting is a setup. Drake's client offers Deacon money to disappear and forget everything. Deacon refuses, demanding what is rightfully his. Drake reveals a gun he took from Deacon's bag, covered in his fingerprints. He threatens to frame Deacon for the murder of Zahn, the corrupt cop. He gives Deacon a choice, leave and live, or stay and die. Deacon gives Drake his own ultimatum, tell him where the kidney is for a quick death. George appears with a gun pointed at Drake, telling him to back away. Drake reveals the kidney has already been transplanted into its new host. Deacon calls his bluff, knowing they need him alive in case they need his other kidney. A gunfight erupts in the confined space. After the chaos, Kung states that they are now marked men. Deacon refuses to leave the city, unwilling to let Isabella die. Anna is horrified to learn they plan to kill the recipient to get the kidney back. Anna asks George why he can't just donate one of his own kidneys to his daughter. George reveals he is not a compatible match for Isabella. Deacon, however, is a perfect match, a fact that surprises Anna. Anna offers them the money she was paid to set up Deacon. She wants them to use it to help save Isabella. They realize the thieves must have gotten Deacon's information from the hospital. They conclude that whoever is also a match for Isabella must be their target. George meets with a hacker he knows from the university to get the transplant list. The hacker reveals someone else already tried to hire him to get the same list. He gives them the name, Simon Reed III, a wealthy retired oil executive. Reed is on the board of Harmony Corporation, a supplier of private military contractors. Kung realizes they are up against mercenaries with deep pockets. George suggests they use his family's secluded summer house to plan their next move. At the house, Deacon tells Anna about his past with George's late wife, Mary. Mary had to choose between the stable George and the violent Deacon, and she chose George. He reveals that 10 years ago, when George and Mary were separated, he and Mary had a brief affair. Shortly after, Mary discovered she was pregnant with Isabella. George explains that he knew he couldn't have children, as he is sterile. He forgave Mary easily because he loved her. But forgiving his brother, Deacon, was much more difficult. George, struggling with his faith, decides he cannot kill someone for the kidney. Deacon cruelly blames George, suggesting his delay in getting Isabella treated is the real issue. He accuses George of punishing Isabella because she is a constant reminder of Deacon's betrayal. Deacon asks him if he would kill to save Isabella, even if it cost him his soul. George finally relents, offering Mary's life insurance money to fund the operation. He resigns himself, saying if he's going to burn in hell, he might as well go now. Deacon punches George, saying it's something he should have done a long time ago. As they prepare, a sniper's laser sight appears on Kung's chest. Kung is shot and killed by the sniper. Deacon knows the attack was orchestrated by Drake, and they vow to get him. With Kung gone, Deacon and George must assault Reed's compound by themselves. George is surprised to learn Deacon's real expertise isn't rescue, but killing people. Before the assault, Deacon gives Anna the car keys and makes her promise one thing. She must not let George enter the house, under any circumstances. Deacon then locks George in the car, telling Anna it's better this way. Deacon infiltrates the compound, but his body camera feed suddenly cuts out. George realizes Deacon has been hit. Ignoring his promise, George demands the keys from Anna, who refuses. He breaks out of the car and runs towards the house to help his brother. Inside, George finds a gun and prepares to fight. He prays for forgiveness, reciting the 23rd Psalm as he moves through the house. He finds Deacon held at gunpoint by a man who introduces himself as Simon Reed. As Reed is about to execute Deacon, George shoots him from behind. George kills another mercenary, admitting that killing is surprisingly easy. He tells Drake to stay away from his brother. Deacon, wounded, tells George he should have stayed away. Deacon confronts Drake for a final fight, armed with a knife. He reveals he has already won, having severed Drake's femoral artery. As Drake bleeds out, Deacon tells him, "Game over." They confront the man they believe to be Simon Reed, demanding the kidney back. But George notices the man has no transplant scar. The man is a decoy. The name on the list was Simon Reed III. They rush to the master bedroom to find the real recipient. Inside, they find the real Simon Reed, an old man, watching over a young boy in a medical bed. The boy, his grandson, is the one who received the kidney. He is only 11 years old. Deacon tells the old man he understands, as a little girl is also dying. George raises his gun to the boy, but Deacon stops him. He tells George they can't cross this line. Deacon asks George what his wife, Mary, would think of him now. George breaks down, unable to go through with it. Deacon comforts him. At the hospital, George tells Anna that Isabella's fate is now in God's hands. George introduces a recovering Isabella to her uncle, Deacon. Isabella recognizes him from the photos her mother showed her. George notices Deacon has been bleeding heavily from his wounds. As George rushes for a nurse, Deacon stops him. Dying, he tells George, "I have another kidney. Use it." He begs George to accept it as his gift to Isabella. With his last breath, Deacon says, "Goodbye, brother." George holds his brother, finally telling him, "I forgive you." 1 year later, George and a healthy Isabella visit two graves. One belongs to Mary, beloved wife and mother. The other belongs to Deacon, beloved brother, soldier, and savior. Isabella asks if her uncle is also watching from heaven, and George replies, "I hope so." If you want a recap of your favorite movies and shows, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. See you next time, everyone.